there was a great quote from the NVIDIA co-founder and CEO. He said, "You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who uses AI."
100%. 100%.
Hey everyone, I'm Josh, and this is the In Your Corner podcast from CBS News Philadelphia, where we're all about helping you take control, whether it's better managing your money, spotting the latest scams, or just knowing your rights as a consumer. And you know what, right now, one of the biggest forces really shaping how we live, how we spend, how we work is artificial intelligence. We've been digging into this a lot in our In Your Corner reports lately, how scammers are using AI to make their schemes more convincing, but also how more people are turning to AI for help with budgeting, finding deals, even making financial decisions. And if you've been following the headlines, you know AI is not just changing, how we shop and spend. It's really starting to transform the workplace in a big way.
As artificial intelligence advances, questions are swirling over what it means for the global workforce.
A fresh new report shows more than 10,000 jobs have been cut so far this year due to the rise of generative AI.
Some economists say businesses are now replacing entry-level jobs with artificial intelligence.
Amazon CEO Andy Jassy says AI will lead to fewer corporate jobs at the company.
Amazon says it's cutting 14,000 jobs as it ramps up spending on AI.
Now, Amazon's CEO has come out since then, appearing to sort of rebuff that on the company's recent earnings call, saying the cuts were about culture, not really AI. But you know what? I mean, other big companies, Microsoft, PayPal, have publicly admitted AI is going to help them reduce their headcount. And so the question that a lot of people are asking, the sentiment that seems to be showing up more in polls and surveys of employees, is this worry and fear about AI. Is AI coming for your job, for mine? And if it is, what do we do about it? What does it mean for the future of work, for your bottom line? And can we prepare for it as employees? Here to help us answer that is Gene Marks. He's a certified public accountant. He's a weekly columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, also writes weekly for Forbes on AI and technology. Gene, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Josh. Great to be here.
Appreciate it. Also a small business owner.
Yes.
We could add that to the resume. So there was a World Economic Forum survey that was published earlier this year, found 41% of companies around the world expect to reduce their workforce in roles where AI can do the job. There's this stat that LinkedIn has thrown around quite a bit, saying 85% of professionals should expect to see a quarter of their skills reshaped by AI in the coming years. You've written quite a few columns about this recently. I can only assume that the question at hand here, though, and potential answer is probably way more nuanced than a yes or no.
Yeah, it is. I mean, first of all, then there's the MIT study, which just came out recently, that said that 95% of companies with AI projects failed in their AI projects as well.
Interesting.
So there right now, as I'm writing about in Forbes and in the Inquirer, Josh, is AI is a big company game right now. Most small businesses are really not using AI. They're dabbling with it, ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and things like that. But all of the noise that we hear about jobs being lost to AI, I think it's a lot of us in the media kind of overplaying it in a little way. And I don't think that employees need to be as frightened about losing their jobs as what you might be terrified to read in a lot of the media.
So is it just sort of like a scapegoat that some of these companies are using?
Thank you for saying that. Yes, that's exactly what I believe it is. Like Andy Jassy at Amazon was the one that admitted this, to start with. He said that, it's more of a culture thing. It's not really AI. A lot of companies over the past few years have overhired. Things have changed. They've made some poor management decisions. Usually companies lay off tens of thousands of workers like we're seeing right now when there's a recession or a financial downturn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not really the case right now. I mean, the economy has slowed a little bit, but a lot of companies are trying to trim the fat and cut overhead. AI is like a perfect way to blame, it's a perfect thing to say, it's AI that's causing it, and it's just not what is reality that's out there. And I can tell you what reality is right now. Tech companies are cutting back on their hiring because AI is doing more development work. That is a given.
Mm-hmm.
There are some large companies that are looking for AI to enhance their customer services. But for the most part, those companies are finding that AI can't really replace humans right now. And as much as they're trying to invest in AI to do the role of humans, at least right now, It is that is not exactly what is happening. So I do think it's a little bit of overblown.
Okay, so we're still a little better than the machine.
We are lots better than the machine. And, even Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, he recently said in an interview that he believes that AI is going to create more opportunities for humans than what people think. And in the end, people like to talk with people. You mentioned, like, is AI going to replace you? I just don't think people are going to be listening or watching, a podcast or a segment on the news where it's a bot that's talking or it's a robot. We are humans, and we like to engage with humans and hear from other humans. There was a limit to what AI will be doing, at least in the very near future.
I certainly hope so. And you mentioned too some of these different studies that have come out recently about the productivity gains or lack thereof from some of these different AI platforms. So the proof really isn't in the pudding just yet.
It's not, and the common word that's going around right now is called workslop. It's people trying to use AI, and it's actually creating more work because AI isn't perfect. I'll give you the perfect example. So I wrote a piece for Forbes just a few weeks ago, and anybody can look this up. I went on to the 3 AI chatbots. Grok, Gemini, and ChatGPT. I asked it to create for me an image, because they all do that, of a Yorkshire Terrier playing baseball and hitting a home run from the right side of the plate.
Very specific, which is what they say AI wants, right?
Very specific. Yeah. And you know what? All of them created images, very cute Yorkshire Terrier, completely not doing what I asked it to do. It was facing the wrong direction, wasn't hitting a baseball. One of the Yorkshire Terriers was just standing there at home plate didn't even have a baseball bat in its hand. There were other dogs on the field that weren't even Yorkshire Terriers, and I specifically asked for that. So it was, and I kept coming back to it with more and more prompts. Can you fix this? Can you do that? And it just wouldn't. So on the one hand, it's amazing. I mean, I asked it, and within 30 seconds, it generated an AI looking, but a cool, image. Wow. But it just wasn't exactly what I needed, And so if I was running a business and I needed that image in my marketing materials or my website, I couldn't have used it. I would have had to then hand it to my marketing person and say, can you figure out what's going on here? Can you clean this up? And maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't be able to, but it's called workslop. It creates extra work right now for people to clean up. Not that this won't get better, but for now, that's where it is.
Well, so to that point, because even the advancements in AI just in the past couple of years, leaps and bounds. So we say, okay, not yet, but it continually, increasingly is getting better and better each day. So, not yet, but maybe not that far down the road?
It's not. And I can tell you what it does do and what people are using it for really well, particularly people in businesses. Everybody should have an AI chatbot friend. I don't know if you, I subscribe to ChatGPT. I pay the $20 a month. I'm talking to it all the time. I'm asking a question about my business. I'm asking questions about, personally. I have the mobile app on my phone. I'm driving around the city talking to this thing like it's my friend, whatever. It's a great advisor. It really is. If you're independent, if you are, you're on your own, or even if you are running a business, there shouldn't be a document, a policy, a bid, a quote, a proposal, a contract. None of that should go out without you first uploading it to your AI chatbot, because it will come back and it will give you its thoughts and advice and tips on it. And it's not right all the time, but then again, who is? But it's just another really expert advisor to help you. And so that's why I said, even normal people looking at a job application or something to do with their employer, you shouldn't be signing anything or doing anything without first asking your chatbot, what do you think about it? And it will give you feedback. And then you can take that if you want to an attorney, to your friends. It's just an extra really smart friend in your life that can help you. And that's what AI is doing well right now.
So if I'm an employee right now, instead of resisting, instead of being fearful, figure out how to make AI work for me?
So glad that you're asking that. So here's what both employees and employers need to be doing about this, okay? If you are an employee, it is your job to learn AI for your job. It is a productivity tool. It is not a replacement tool. Yes, some of it will replace employees that don't get this. But the smartest employees that I know, the smartest people that are working at companies, They get to know the AI tools of the software applications that they're using so they can be more productive at their job. Do not be afraid of AI. Embrace it and use it to do more at work. Why? Because your employer doesn't want to fire you. You're particularly small business owners who are desperately looking for people. They just want you to be more productive. But if it does get to the point of employers looking to cut costs, who are they going to get rid of? The person that's able to do the job of 3 persons because they're leveraging AI, or the other person who's only still doing the same job they've been doing for the past 10 years? You know, you have to embrace it as something to do. That's for people. If you are an employer and you have employees in your business, it's your job to train them. You should be paying money to, and a perfect example, everybody has Microsoft Office or Google Workspace. You know, I mean, that's like standard in most businesses. And come on, like we're using like 10 to 20%.
There are so many applications that I go, I don't even know
Don't
what this
even know
does.
about it. And you know what? And no offense on, CBS.
Yeah, not to call out, yes.
It's your employer's fault because the employer, it's their job to make sure that their employees are trained, which means spending a little bit of money so that they are totally up to speed on all. It's like you're driving around Texas in the summer in the heat and you're not using your air conditioner because you don't know where the button for the air conditioner is. You know what I mean? So employers should be making sure that their employees get trained. Employees need to embrace that. If employers spend that, make that investment, their employees will be less terrified of AI, more understanding of it, more productive at their jobs, better balanced, and actually like enjoying themselves that much more proud of the work that they are doing because they're leveraging these tools to get more work done.
So I will say one of the big kind of aha light bulb moments for me, probably within the past year, and I was recently talking about this at a journalism conference, doing exactly what you're saying, leaning into the tools here because, I mean, real talk, in this industry especially, people are being asked and have been asked for a long time to do 1, 2, 3 people's jobs.
100%.
And so Microsoft Copilot, we have Microsoft here, has become something that I go to regularly. I don't know, a lot of people might not realize this. We have consumers submit complaints to us. To us, I mean, it comes to me. And it always cracks me when people go, can your team look into this? The team is me and now Microsoft Copilot. Because I will, some of these are long emails, there's documents. I will put it into Copilot. I say, can you summarize this for me and give me, where do I go with this?
Absolutely. And I hope that you're verifying the response.
Well, and then it gives me a starting point to say, okay, I don't know that, let me go look that. But figuring out how to do that in a way that's ethical, that still maintains journalistic integrity, but that can actually help me be a better journalist, consumer reporter. That's really changed my outlook on a lot of this.
And my personal example, so I write every week for the Philly Inquirer, right? So typical article that I write, I have 3 or 4 interviews. I record them, I upload the interviews and have them transcribed. I give them to ChatGPT. I say, please summarize these interviews. Please give me the 5 main takeaways from these interviews with supporting quotes for each from all the transcripts. And it just does it for me in seconds. Now, that would have taken me hours to just read through it and make the notes or whatever. So it saved me all the time. And then I can take that data and write my column from it. So it's not replacing me. It's just helping me be more productive. What took me a few hours is now taking me just an hour to do. That's huge, and that works for any job.
Anyone who's ever had to transcribe an interview, I mean, it's
pain in the
killer.
neck.
And I actually, that was one of the first AI tools I started using years ago, was putting it into something and it gives, seconds, it'll give you the full, it could be a 40-minute interview.
Right.
And it'll give you summary points. I mean, this podcast will go into a transcription thing, so I can get that back. But I guess it is just changing your mindset of how can this work for me?
Yep.
And how can it make me actually more valuable as an employee?
So it is one that you want to lean on it as a friend. You trust, but you verify.
Yes.
But that's like with any expert.
Sure. There was a great quote from the NVIDIA co-founder and CEO. Of course, NVIDIA is like the company that's powering this entire AI revolution. He said, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who uses AI.
100%. 100%. The employees, if you're an employee somewhere, the smarter you are, the more that you lean into these tech tools, the more job security you have, not the less. I have concerns for people coming out of school. I wrote a piece for Forbes about how AI is killing the Harvard MBA.
Oh, why do you say that?
Because the investment banks are investing heavily into AI models to do research and analysis and evaluate deals and to create correspondence and so all the things that those analysts are doing when they come out of Harvard or other Ivy League schools.
Okay.
Well, now they can do so. But the managers that are already there and working, instead of having to supervise, 10 Harvard MBAs to do these researches and deals and all that, they're going to have 2 or 3 really smart ones that are leveraging these AI tools to do it for them. So it's an opportunity for the people that want to, take advantage of that opportunity.
So kind of along the same lines of what I was going to bring up too is this idea of what happens to some of these more kind of entry-level jobs. I have a good friend, a best friend of mine who's in consulting. And, a lot of these jobs where you sort of start at the bottom and work your way up, those are jobs that could and can be done by AI now. So what do you do when you're just trying to get into the field or a workforce?
Easy. So first of all, you have to know that every manager and every employer that you're going to be interviewed by, they don't know nothing about AI. To them, they're as terrified as everybody else. So they're as clueless. You come into them, you do your research before your job interview, and you come in and you say, hey, listen, you hire me, here's like 2 AI tools that I would be using at this job. So I could be doing it. Here's what it would be doing for both you and me and you as my manager. I would be doing my job that much better, and we will be able together to get your organization, your team better up to speed on AI. I will bring it in and I will champion that. A manager looking at particularly a younger person, who is of a generation that you kind of expect them to know this technology, it gives you a leg up when you're interviewing because you're not pushing against these tools. You're saying, you bring me in, I will bring in AI to your company because I've done my research and I know how it can best be used. So I would be looking at it as a positive thing and considering it as part of your own tool belt that you would be able to provide more value to the company by hiring you.
Even if some of these positions technically don't even exist anymore, I guess the question is how do you even then get your foot in the door to have those conversations?
Well, first of all, the every position that exists right now has a need for automation and more productivity.
Okay.
So there's not a single, and again, I mean, it really depends on what you're asking for. I mean, if it's the one safe jobs and what I think is a real jobs that will grow is work with your hands. I do think we're going to see more plumbers and HVAC people and contractors because
tradespeople, yeah,
tradespeople, and I got news for you. That's why a lot of private equity firms are buying up those trades like that, those kinds of businesses because they know they're not going to be they're going to be threatened by AI. You always need somebody to come in and install a bathtub. You know what I mean? But for office work, and if you look at those layoffs that have been happening, they're all white collar layoffs. They're all managers. I mean, they're just, and those people are the ones that should be telling their bosses and coming in prepared to use these tools so they can protect their jobs and do a much, much better job. That's how you stay ahead of the competition.
Talk about layoffs. I mean, it is a rough time. You look at some of the recent announcements just in the past couple of weeks. UPS, something like 48,000.
Yeah.
Amazon, 14,000. Microsoft, 6,000. Target had about 2,000. General Motors, similarly about 2,000. And quite frankly, full transparency, our company here, Paramount Skydance, we had a huge merger recently, which owns the CBS local stations. And we had a round of layoffs here across CBS News here at our own station. We had to say goodbye to some colleagues. It's extremely tough from a human level.
Yep.
And I expect that we're going to hear more layoffs coming in the next few months. This is going to be the beginning of many more. As a small business owner, what is your advice for workers who are finding themselves, maybe for the first time in a long time, unemployed from a job that they had been doing for a while? I mean, where do you begin?
So first of all, if you're unemployed, the worst thing that you can do to yourself is be surprised that you're unemployed. I've told this to my kids before. My dad told it to me. I've learned it the way. No job is safe, regardless.
Well, I mean, right. This whole job security line that we've been sold.
And it never did exist. It never. I mean,
But it really feels like it doesn't exist.
It does.
Anymore.
Everything's relative. But my point is that every morning you should be getting up when you're in the shower in the morning, and you should be thinking to yourself, "What if I was laid off today? what if I was? You should always have a plan B. I mean, that's number one. It should not come as a surprise.
And how do you stop that from being a really depressing train of thought, though?
I'm not saying this. Not all things have to be optimistic and encouraging. You just have to think to yourself, okay, what am I doing if I were laid off today? What would I do? Like, you should have a playbook ready to go. I mean, the smartest clients that I've worked with, Josh, they're always thinking ahead. They always have in their minds, like, if things turn in this direction or things turn in that direction, this is what I'm going to be doing. We need to be thinking about that individually as well. We shouldn't be surprised by these things. We should just have a playbook for doing them. So think to yourself again, like, okay, once a week. It doesn't have to be every day, but if I were to be laid off next Friday, it was my last day. What are the 5 things I would be doing? And then think that through so that if that, God forbid, does happen, you've got something you can immediately start turning to. One of those 5 things, I have to say, which is what you can be preparing for, is just increasing your network. And that's super important. People get in their bubble at their jobs, and you get so into your job. Every single person that you liaise with and meet with, you should be going to conferences. You should be participating in inventory stuff. You should be volunteering to your bosses. Send me to the Association of Corrugated Container Manufacturers. So let me go and participate there, and then you meet people.
Well, but I think networking kind of became a cliche a little bit, but the reality is
people.
It's not necessarily like this thing you have to set aside and do. It's just it should be a natural part of what you're doing day in and day out.
Agreed. And dovetail that in with your job,
Right.
But so it's like a dual purpose thing. Hey, I'm going to the association conference for my company, but I'm also going to hopefully be meeting a few people there that might benefit me, in the future, So you just have to be prepared, because nothing is certain when you're working at a company. And also just know that, I cover small businesses, Josh. So every small business owner that I meet, particularly here in the Philly area where the economy hasn't been that bad, they're all looking for good talent, and they all value good talent. And the more money you can make somebody, the more job security you have. You know what I mean? And by the way, I want to use you as an example. If I mean, you've been given this task of creating and moving forward with this whole podcast, series and video series, which is amazing. You could not have done this a few years ago without the help of technology and AI.
That's very true. Yeah.
And you're probably scratching the surface of what you can be doing. And if your bosses look at you in a year and be like, "You got this one guy, he's doing it all. He's arranging guests, he's putting out content." You know what I mean? Those are the guys that get kept. You know what I mean?
I tell people, say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes, and at the very least, just see what happens.
Yep.
Because God knows when my bosses came to me and said, "Can you do one more thing?" And can I? But okay.
I love that.
See.
I love
Let's
that
see
you're
what we can
saying
do.
that, because I'm going to tell you, as a business owner, I have 10 employees, so it's not a huge amount. But again, speaking on behalf of my clients, that advice is so golden as an employee. When people are running companies and managers have their jobs, all they want to hear from their employees is, "Yes, sir," or "Yes, ma'am. Got it. I'll take care of it." You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants that Tom Hagen, the consigliere, the Godfather, just to "I'll take care of it, boss."
Yeah. But also accepting the reality too that this is a transactional, this is a business. Taking some of the personal out of it. I think part of why I had a hard time for a long time too was this idea of and I think this is a problem for a lot of us. Our identities are so tightly wound in with our job, our daily job, and the thought of if you don't have that job anymore or whatever, that's so hard to kind of wrap your head around.
Yeah.
And until you can kind of separate, you are a person, you are going to this place every day, you're carrying out tasks to the best of your ability, trying to be, as efficient as you can. And if you can't do that anymore, then you can do that somewhere else, is kind of what I've accepted.
100%. And people get wrapped up in industry experience. And what I have learned is that 90% of businesses are doing the same thing. There's just a 10% difference depending on what industry that you're in. So if you are doing marketing for an auto parts firm, that doesn't mean that you can, and you get laid off. That doesn't mean you look for a marketing job in the auto parts industry. You can learn other industries. Marketing. If you're in finance and accounting for a tire distributor. For some reason, I'm hung up on.
Yeah,
the
you're really
automobile.
automotive.
Yeah. I think you're a PR firm. Let's just say that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do the same thing for PR. You know what I mean? Like it is. You, as a professional, what job that you're doing is the job itself. It's not necessarily has to be related to the industry that you're doing. You can expand and look beyond that to get that work. And people are looking for people. There are some jobs that will be eliminated by AI, but technology does that. I mean, did you know in the 19th century, there were people that were paid to climb up light poles in London, right? To turn them on and off. There were people that they had pea shooters. They shooted little pebbles into people's windows to wake them up in the morning because there was no
alarm clock.
Right. So technology does change and it does eliminate jobs, but smart people adapt.
It's this idea of inevitability, right?
Yes.
It's been happening forever.
Yes.
And this is the next wave of that.
Yes.
And leaning in, accepting that change is inevitable, and how are you going to stay ahead of it?
And
right?
enjoy it. It's fun.
And you know what? That's a great point too. How can you still find personal fulfillment and enjoyment in riding the wave of, frankly, uncertainty?
Yeah, agreed. Because you will be fine. In the end, people land on their feet, but the more skills you give yourself, again, getting back to this AI stuff, the more technology skills that you acquire yourself, the more valuable you become to your employer. And I think the more happier you'll be. I really do.
Gene, thanks for coming on and talking about this.
This
It's
is
great.
fun.
Gene Marks, certified public accountant. He is a columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, also writes about AI and technology for Forbes, small business owner. Really appreciate your insight on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is the In Your Corner podcast here this week on CBS News Philadelphia. Appreciate it. As always, our inbox is open. If you have a question or a topic that you want to see us talk about here, email inyourcorner@cbs.com. I'm Josh Sidorowicz. Thanks for watching.